Yes, welcome back, my friends. Last time we looked at how to make craters out of pie tins, and today we're going to be looking at how to make minefields and tank traps. Oh yes. So let's jump right into this, boys and girls. So there are a few really good tutorials online for how to make minefields, but I feel they always seem to fall into the same common problem, right? And that's realistically mines, landmines, anti-tank mines, you name it, IEDs. They're all buried underground, relatively speaking, in fields or on roadsides or you name it. But in our wonderful world of miniature tabletop wargaming, that wouldn't be particularly visually interesting. And you'll see a lot of guides where it's like, oh, just have a little sign that says warning or something like that, right? But it's very rare that you actually see a minefield with anything other than a few small pockmarked craters or maybe some victims that have been blown to smithereens by a landmine going off under their boot. And I thought, why don't we make a minefield where you can actually see the landmines, right? Because that'd be a big part of it. And this is a simple enough project. You can do this at home. This is not going to use any specialised tools or materials. As you can see, I've just cut some shapes using cardboard, and now I'm gouging some little crater marks that we're going to later on texture up to really look like big impacts where people have stumbled across a particular gift. But this is the thing, right? This is the kind of project that costs you nothing, but I feel will be quite effective on the tabletop, right? It'll be that kind of dangerous terrain for infantry and impassable terrain for vehicles. But we'll get to why that is in a minute. So at this point, I'm just using some standard filler to go around and fill all the wonderful cardboardy gaps that have been left by cutting a bevel into this hard cardboard, this corrugated cardboard. And it's pretty much the same steps as my last video when I did the craters, right? You're just going to cover over it in sand and sawdust. But I will say, don't worry if you miss like some of the little craters you've cut out of the cardboard. I ran out of filler at that point, so I was just like, all right, well, I'll just fill it with sand and we'll go from there. But let's talk about how we actually make these minefields a little different from what you see, and that's using tank traps, mainly made out of sprues in the Czech hedgehog fashion, as it were. So what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Well, one of the things about anti-personnel minefields is you think, well, wouldn't they just roll a tank over it and that protects the boys and girls that would otherwise have to run through and get blown up, right? Well, yes, but if you make a whole bunch of tank traps, the tanks can't roll over the minefield, so the infantry have to duck into it and therefore get blown apart. It's particularly diabolical, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense to me. And honestly, tank traps out of sprue, this is the easiest thing in the world. Just cut some 2-inch length strips of sprue. It doesn't have to be perfect. I find these weirder sort of almost like tree root sort of shapes that you see on a lot of modern Games Workshop sprues. They're not great for this. You do just want the long flat edges, but you can do a bit of cleanup. You can remove the little studs, the little circular protrusions, if you like, but you don't have to. You can leave them on there, and that's what I'm going to do here. Just make them face inside the little cross shape that we're going to make rather than facing out, because I think the whole thing with working with sprues is we're so used to seeing them, they're instantly recognizable as, oh, that's made from sprues. Anything you can do to help hide that just works wonders. But yeah, as you can see, just trying to figure out, right, if I make an X shape out of these two and then hold it together with super glue, what's that going to look like? Now, a step I would recommend, and you're probably going to do this already, you don't need me telling you, is just going around and trimming flat all the sides. It doesn't have to be perfect, but any of the little sprue nubs, any of the little bits that would have been an injection port for holding onto a miniature piece, just trim those down, right? They don't have to be all knobbly and covered in little spikes and bumps. But leave the little studs, leave them in place. They don't matter all that much. Now at the top of these we're cutting a little sharp angle that makes it look like a spike, and we're doing that just to help break up that silhouette of, oh, it's just a length of sprue. It's a hard task, isn't it? Because it's always going to look like a piece of sprue, but it's all the little things that we can do that help change that. And giving it that sort of uniform bladed top is part of that. But as you can see, you can make a Czech hedgehog very quickly by just taking 3 of them, gluing them together, and it takes minutes and you're done. Now, one step you can do, and I heavily recommend this whenever you're using sprues in this kind of fashion, take a pair of clippers or pliers or whatever and start damaging the actual ends of the sprue itself. You're not trying to snip through it, you're just holding it between the teeth of the pliers, squeezing it a little and then moving on. And that's going to create a little random damage pattern all over that length, right? And you can see that. You can see how effective that looks immediately, going, oh yeah, that's again helping to break up the identity of that piece of sprue, and you're able to see it and go, oh, actually that's a tank trap. That's something that's been worn and damaged and scratched up, and maybe a tank did try and drive over it and failed, and you name it, right? Or all the shrapnel from all these landmines and people getting blown apart around them. But very quickly you can just knock these guys out. Like from a single GW sprue you can make a whole bunch of these. From a couple you could make even more. One step I would recommend is the old bicarbonate of soda baking powder trick. Just a bit of super glue and sprinkle that on top just to help make those bonds a bit more secure. I mean, yeah, you could always like hot glue these things together, but the reality is super glue dries nice and clear, and if you use this technique it looks a little bit like a weld line connecting the 3 parts together, and that's really nice. So as you can see, our bases for the minefield have dried rock solid. All the sand and sawdust is on there. And you can really go to town with just playing these little tank traps anywhere you want, you know, just to see what they look like, see what kind of patterns. I try and put them in a regimented sort of line by line formation, because otherwise, you know, it doesn't look as intentional. Again, using the old milliput trick to just make some of these craters a bit more pronounced and add more detail to these bases. Because yeah, it doesn't matter that it's just a bit of cardboard with some sand glued on it. The more work you put into it, the more little bits of detail you add, without going into like putting skulls and bits of blown apart space marine, right? Makes these things look better and also helps them be a bit more game agnostic. But let's get to the actual fun bit, mines. So we are using Hot Wheels wheels for mines, right? The kind of thing that you get from Mattel or Matchbox toy cars, you name it. Just trim those suckers off and then just stick them straight onto the baseboard, right? Simple as that. I'm using wood glue just because it gives a bit of a cushion and helps really sink into all the gaps on the underside of the wheel. And yes, I know, realistically speaking, these things would be covered underground and you wouldn't be able to see them and blah, 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 blah. I know, right? But we're not doing something realistic, we're doing something for a war game. And a tabletop war game requires you to be able to see these things from a distance, right? And as you can see, just covering them in a bit of sand, you can get that same effect. But I'm not trying to cover them 100% in sand because I still want to be able to paint these suckers, right? Yeah, hot glue in those wonderful tank traps you've just made, and then it's time to do a little bit of sand and sawdust around the bases just to make sure they're sunk into the ground. But before we get to painting, very important step. Right now these guys just look like wheels stuck to a board, right? Very, very obvious. Little studs of sprue. All of a sudden you've got that gigantic plunger that if the guy steps on it or if the vehicle tank track rolls over it, that's what activates the mine, right? Yeah, it's not that realistic because these things would be really small and really light and gentle, and yeah, I get that. But we're trying to make something that's immediately visible at a distance, an arm's length from the table, right? So that's why we do it, because we know what a mine looks like. We know what like those old Soviet like big dinner plate looking mines look like. So being able to have them at a distance makes life a whole lot easier. But this is the thing, because a lot of the minefield terrain guides you see, they just kind of, you know, create a field and that's it. This is 2 types of terrain in one. This is impassable terrain for vehicles and dangerous terrain / cover for infantry. 2 for 1 special, you can't beat that. Painting's your standard affair, and I'm not going to bore you with the step by step. It's brown, then it's beige, then it's a lighter bone-like beige over the top. We're saving painting the tank traps and the mines until last, but it's remembering things like the craters and any of the kind of like stone-looking areas that are poking through. Just paint them grey and dry brush them with a light grey or a white, and there you go. It's more detail and it helps elevate the board and make it look better ultimately, right? Yes, time to paint the tank traps, and just paint them in your standard silvers. You know, I use lead belcher because it's a wonderful universal silver, but it's whatever you're comfortable with. You could paint them green and damage the edges, give them more of that intentional manufactured look, or as I've done here, just silver, and then we'll be like doing some weathered rusty washes later on. So the mines, I'm going for this Russian uniform World War II paint, just because it's a nice solid looking green and it goes down in one coat. I would suggest when you're painting the mines to keep it a relatively contrasting colour to the surroundings. If this was a green field, don't paint green mines. Paint them yellow, paint them brown or black or something else. But every so often, just have one or two, not all of them, just one or two that's painted red or like a bright yellow, because that catches the eye. That helps you immediately identify, oh no, this is a minefield, this is dangerous terrain. As a wargamer, it's about visibility. It's not about realism 100% of the time. And you need to be able to see it. You need to be able to see at a distance. Oh yeah, this is a minefield. It's not just tank traps, right? Some watered down black paint to make a wash with a little drop of hand soap, and there you go. That's that wash down. But we're not finished yet, as you can see. There's more steps to go. But you could look at this already and go, just stick it on the table, you're done, right? Like it's really easy and really quick to do this. Again, like I said in my last video with the pie tin craters, this is a weekend project. You can do this in 2 days, like 2 afternoons, easy. The longest time is the drying time on the paint and the washes. That's it. But now we're going to get to the best part about these little craters, which is painting the little dry brushed blast areas, all the ash and soot and dust that gets kicked up when they detonate. And something that I said in my last video, and I'll say again here, you can make your craters 100 times more effective by just adding some of that wonderful star-shaped, these black solid lines coming straight away from the center point that give it that starburst, 4 points on a compass look that is indicative of an actual explosive going off. These things don't explode in orbs, they explode in all directions with shrapnel and all sorts of rubbish getting kicked up and thrown about. And all of a sudden, just doing that one little thing elevates your build immediately, right? It no longer looks like just a black smudge on the ground, it looks like a crater, it looks like an explosive has gone off. Now, the whole thing with using miniature paints on terrain is you might want to be sparing with it. I'd highly recommend when it comes to using something like an actual wash, like I've done here, just dab it on in random places. You don't need to cover the whole tank traps, just little areas. But there you go, add some grass tufts, do a little dry brush with a bright silver on some of the metal areas. You are done. These minefields are finished. How good's that, right? Costs you nothing. It's materials you've already got lying around. If you're like me and you are massively into Gasland, you're bound to have a load of Hot Wheels. From your childhood, you're bound to have some Hot Wheels toy cars. So you've got the wheels ready available. Make yourself some minefields, right? Super, super quick, super easy, super effective. And the nice thing is, as you build more of these terrain projects, you can start adding them together and they start picking up steam. Because all of a sudden your battlefields aren't just flat, grey, L-shaped ruins. They are minefields, they are craters, they are fortifications, they are ammo depots, they're all these different things that just give you that wonderful play experience. It can be dangerous terrain for infantry, it can be difficult terrain or impassable terrain for vehicles. You can sprinkle it all together with the craters, with you name it. It's good stuff, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it inspires you to make some of your own. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, boys and girls, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you, and goodbye.